All right, welcome to Money Talkers. This is Cody Laughlin. I can't wait to talk to our guest today. I have a very unique entrepreneur with me. Her name is Carla White. Um, Carla has some very big highlights on her resume. She recently was named one of the top 20 podcasters by Entrepreneur. She has Radical Shift podcast, which actually got all the way to ranking number 1, if I remember correctly. And
Yeah.
she was the first woman to launch an iPhone app. She's been a TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and also a business partner with her son. And
Yeah.
so, who happens to be 8 years old, which is one of the coolest things ever. And so, I just want to say, welcome to the show, Carla.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is super cool. I love this.
This is so much fun. I definitely looking forward to jumping right in with you. So I gotta know. I know of all this like massively cool stuff. To me, I want to know about the business that you opened up with your son. Can you kind of run us
Yeah.
through like how you got started, like what sparked the idea, and
It's crazy because we were getting close to summer vacation last spring. And like a mom, I didn't have anything really lined up for the summer. We were sitting there going, well, what are we going to do besides like one camp that I had him signed up for? And thinking back to when I grew up on a farm, I was helping out on the farm all summer long, and helping out on the farm helped me not only learn good work ethics, but business ethics. I learned different business protocols and ideas and so much about business just by helping out my dad and family members on the farm. But we don't own a farm. So I thought, well, how can we get you exposed to more business? And he thought, well, why don't I just go visit them? Why don't I just go to the businesses? And I thought, yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't you? And then we thought, well, why don't you bring some friends and make it like a challenge? And so then we thought, well, why don't we make it a group? Like we'll have passports and we'll go around to different businesses. Because you travel during the summer. So it'll be like we're traveling to these different businesses and we'll get a behind the scenes look at how they run. Plus, get exposure to being an entrepreneur. And so we came up with this idea and put a website together in like, I don't know, probably 40 minutes. It was pretty quick and sloppy. And we reached out to every friend that I knew that ran a business and asked if they would let 40, 50 kids come backstage and see how it was run. And they were so awesome. They were, yes, because the kids had to be accompanied by adults. This wasn't a drop off your kid and run sort of thing. You had to stay with your kid. And that way, we were bringing more foot traffic into these local businesses as well. So they had a win and we
yeah,
had a win. And it was so much fun. I think the best part of it was my son has problems with reading. So he has vision problems and he sees spaces between letters where there are none. So he has a hard time grouping letters together and reading. And of course, this has like been a blow at his self-confidence. And although he's super smart, he doesn't believe he is simply because of a vision problem. And he's really good at talking. So this with business and getting people fired up about going on this little scavenger hunt was all about talking, which he does naturally. And so it really accentuated his natural abilities and built up his confidence so much in those few months. Also, he bragged about it a lot.
yeah. So, did you run this as a business though? Is that what? Did you guys? So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
charged for the tickets and the how did
Yes,
tell me about that. I want to
yeah.
know the nuts and bolts on that part. Like that sounds
So
so cool.
it came, the price per workshop came out to something like less than $3 per workshop or $1 per workshop because we had a workshop pretty much every day. So you could go to as many or as little as you wanted. And they were at cupcake shops, boutiques, banks. We got to go inside vaults and banks. I mean, it was, I think the parents had more fun than the kids because they were just like, oh my gosh, this is so I think I have to make a parent version. But yeah, so we charged per member. And then if you signed up two, you got a discount on the second. And, you know, of course, we were really lax on the rules. We were like, yeah, you can bring a friend, whatever. We're not going to be really tough. But we gave them each gifts. So they each got a passport. And at each location, they had to get a special stamp and get a signature. And whoever had the most stamps at the end of the summer got a prize. And then the businesses were giving out prizes too, just for coming in. They would give out, like the cupcake shop gave them 4 cupcakes each. And this leather shop, they imported leather from Italy. They were giving away little leather keychains and gave away a really nice belt to one of the girls. And I mean, it was the business owners went over the top.
Oh, I love that, because that really speaks to the way when I had a personal mindset shift about abundance, right? Like, and so that talks about like here you are wanting to teach your son about business, and then you found a way for him to make money making a business while learning about businesses.
Yeah,
like,
I know. It's like
just a creation
the
of
vortex.
that's just such a wonderful creation of something that wasn't there before. And people are like, oh, you know, everything's been done. You know, you ever heard that crazy nonsense?
Yes.
You know, it's like, no, like, and not only that, it's like, I don't know if it was profitable. He made some money, which is pretty awesome thing we can hop to. But like, just like the idea that you planted in his head, like, if you want something, you can go out and create it.
Yeah. So that was really super important to me because growing up, we're taught that the only thing we can create is a good resume. And I tried so hard on creating a perfect resume. I got an MBA. My first job was at the Pentagon. So and after that, after I left the Pentagon, I was living out of my car for almost 6 months.
Wow.
So here I had an MBA, I had a great resume, I spoke multiple languages, yet all my money was going towards debt. So I learned how to make debt and not wealth in school. And so it was really important to me to, one, not only help my son realize that he has gifts and to accentuate those gifts because he is a talker. He would get reprimanded for that in school.
Yeah.
Right. And we're told not to talk in school, and, you know, and he loved helping people out. He loved having fun with them, and then he'd be reprimanded for it. And he was being taught that talking is a bad thing. Whereas actually, gosh, that's a moneymaker. If you know how to talk, that's a moneymaker. So
I've had so many people that have been successful, and I asked, like, what was the best job you ever had? They're like, door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you have to talk to people. And I'm like, you know, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So did you, what was his reaction to it all?
Well, okay, so he was a little confused at first when I was like, we're going to make this into a business, and he didn't understand the whole dynamics of it. But we put it out there, and I posted it in a couple of local entrepreneur groups or business groups that are for my local city, and asked some businesses if they would join. And some newspapers got a hold of this, like, what's going on here? What's the story here? And so they were super pumped about it. And so they met him at a cafe, and he had his photos taken, and they interviewed him. And I think that was really good because it was right after school, and he had it so drilled in his head that talking was bad.
Yeah.
We had to reverse that really quickly. Like, it was really important for me to see, no, talking is good. And so he struggled through those initial interviews, but he was being interviewed all summer long. And by the time the end of it, he was really doing, like, he was leading people. He was like, we would show up at a location, and he'd give them a lowdown on how it would all work and, you know, what to expect. And I mean, his leadership skills went through the roof because
you must have been just beaming. Like, that's so
because
cool.
you can't buy that, right? No, you can't buy that.
No, you know what? I think you ought to package this thing up and get it out, because you could do it in small towns around the country. You could do stuff Like that is so cool. And you know what? And here's the other part is that like you wanted to teach your son about business, and you ended up teaching probably 50 kids about business, and then they're going to get experience and exposure to things like they don't see behind the scenes. And I was a commercial banker for a little while, so like you don't really realize you walk in and you're like, oh well, I'll take the cupcake and I'll leave, and that's $2 or whatever it is. Like you don't realize there's people, like 12 people in the back to make that cupcake work for you. And like,
Yeah. I mean, they were blown away. They were like, okay, the first employee comes at 1:30 in the morning, and my son still talks about it. Like and here's the other cool thing is they were brought together with kids that they would not normally would have met otherwise. And that was so cool. It was such a unique combination of individuals that normally he's around friends that he's known his whole life. And now these other individuals, it was just so much fun. And the parents got to know each other and really enjoy. I mean, it was really something else.
Oh, that is so cool. I just love that idea that, because that's one of the things with Money Talkers that I've brought is that I'm really trying to bring a program to help facilitate talks between parents and their kids about money, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek Money Talkers. But I've met so many people, and I said, well, what did you want to, what did you learn about money in school? And they say, no. I'm like, well, did your parents talk to you about money? And they're like, oh no, taboo subject, right? Like we didn't talk about money, and we should be, right?
Or if it was spoken about, it was like through anger. Or upset. You're not making enough money, or we don't have enough money.
Or I can't afford that.
Mm-hmm.
We can't afford that, and it's like, no, well, let's take that subject and say, well, we can't afford that, and say, well, how do we afford that?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, right.
And start working on that, like those little shifts, and they can have such massive impacts. And I just think that's so cool that you spent that time with them and did that, and you really probably changed his emotional and financial trajectory in taking that initiative to just talk to him.
Yeah. So, we put him into a lot of different trainings, like he goes to Taekwondo, he's studying guitar, he's doing all this stuff. If we invested that much in his knowledge about creating money, about using his skills and talents to just create it, right? Don't have to sell your resume, although that is good route for a lot of people. But for somebody who has trouble reading, I'm not sure if that's going to be his answer. He has too much charisma. He has too much energy. He's definitely, one of those people that they probably would have wanted to put a pill in if they had their choice, some people. But, you bottle up that energy or you shut it off. It's hard to put it back on again. And
it is. And you know what? It's one of the things like I always want to encourage is that if your child brings you an idea, it's not your job to tell them whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. And I'm talking, I'm not talking about extreme cases, like, should we pour Drano in the pool? Like, not that kind of thing. Like, but I mean, like, if your guy comes in and they're like, hey, I want, like, my daughter right now is talking about being a dog walker, right?
Yeah.
She's 8. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, all right, they're probably going to drag you around the neighborhood. Parents are probably going to want to give you keys to their house, but like, I'm like, you don't want to do that. Like, you gotta suppress that in yourself because you're putting limiting beliefs on your kid.
Exactly. So my son's first business was actually picking up poop. So he had to pick it up at our house and then the neighbors, and he did a discount. If the neighbor's dog pooped on your lawn, he'd pick it up for free. Just let him know, and that put in goodwill and whatnot. And so, that was his first business.
A market.
And you could get him on a continuity plan. It was
there you go. Recurring revenues. He's got passive income. That's almost a different take on passive income, right?
Right. And his bump was ethically getting rid of the poop. So rather than just throwing it in your garbage, he would dispose of it correctly. So
yeah. You're like, we'll even plant a tree in your name.
Yeah. That was a pretty fun, except for mom and dad were picking up more poop than him.
That's it. But but you don't say no, you let them explore and you let them do those things. And so,
Yeah.
well, listen, I want to stop us there because this is going to be a two-part episode. I have got we have a massively interesting topic to talk about next, and I want to make sure that we have the time to do it. We are going to get into Carla's one of her main specialties, which is in neuroscience, right? And I want to talk about how your app, as the first woman to launch an app on Apple, and it's also been one of the it's been featured everywhere. I mean, Oprah and NBC, New York Times, all this stuff. So I want to talk with you about like how that app has been kind of centered around gratitude and neuroscience, and how we can relate that back into our parenting, and like what we can do to kind of talk to our kids about those things. So
fantastic.
awesome. So I'm gonna cut us off here, but if this is the episode, let's do Carla. Where's the best place to find more Carla White right now?
You just go to carlawhite.org, and that's Carla with the C.
Awesome. All right, guys, go check it out and listen up for episode number 2.